Hi everybody, welcome in to the Wolfman gardening channel. Today I'm going over yellowing leaves, and mainly and particularly with my tomato plants. My peppers and a lot of my cucumbers are all doing fine, but for some reason I'm getting these yellow leaves, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons why today that your leaves on your tomato plants could be turning yellow. And stick around for the end because the last one is the most common. Let's get started. Okay, well, let's get started on the first one. The first one is the soil pH balance. The tomatoes like a slightly acidic pH balance in the soil. Now, this is not like one of the main common reasons, but I have seen it yellow or turn leaves on these tomato plants and start turning them yellow. So you want to keep about a 6.8 to 6.0, somewhere between that 6.0 to 6.8 acidic level in your soil. And I'll do a future video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments and I'll explain the difference in your pH balance in your soil. So for most of the stuff that we plant in my garden here, it's about the same pH level, minus, fruiting stuff like strawberries, stuff like that. But for the most part, my pH balance in the soil here is roughly around a 6.2, which is perfect. So if my leaves are turning yellow and I have good pH balance, then I need to move on to the next step. The next thing that you can check is environmental stress. Now, extreme heat or a really cold snap that comes in can also stress these plants out, these tomato plants, to where you'll start to get some yellowing leaves. And another part of the environmental stress is you can also sunburn your leaves. And I think I've talked about this in a video before, but if your tomatoes are used to getting a lot of shade and then they get that direct hot sun for a little bit, your leaves can actually sunburn. Make sure they get 6 to 8 hours of sunlight, but you want to keep that extreme heat away from them. So maybe either use a shade cloth or something. If your plants are in the full sun 8 to 10 hours, then you might want to think about putting a shade cloth where it'll get a little bit of shade during that hot portion of the evening sun. And the third reason that you can have yellowing leaves in your tomatoes are pest and disease. Now, I know that I've gone over pest and disease a lot on this channel. Pest and disease is something that you really have to struggle and deal with every year if you're going to be a gardener. Now, how you deal with it, that's all on, that depends on you. There's probably 200, 300 different people that'll tell you 200 or 300 different answers on how to deal with pest and disease. And I've got several videos on that if you want to look back on my channel. Anyway, one of the pests like your aphids, white flies, and even spider mites can all cause your leaves to turn yellow. But usually you're going to see a little bit of deterioration of the leaves from either you can see where an aphid is chewing on the leaves or stuff like that, and you'll start seeing some yellowing on that. Another thing is disease. Early blight and septoria leaf spot and fusarium wilt. These are some of the things, or some of the diseases that are real common in the North Texas region. So, and you have to really pay attention to that. And like I said, you want to make sure that you inspect these that I'm going over. One of these 5 reasons that I'm going over today should put an end to the yellowing leaves. So let's get on to the next one. Now, the number 4 reason is watering issues. Now, overwatering, which causes root rot, or could cause root rot, and it could also stress the tomato plant out to the point where the leaves can turn yellow. And if you'll notice, some of these leaves on these are turning a little bit yellow. But we've had the most amount of rain, and I put that, or said this in the earlier video, we've had the most amount of rain this year in the spring than I've ever seen since I've been gardening. And I've been gardening for several years. So the inconsistent watering is what we have determined is the cause of our tomatoes to be turning yellow. Because right now we finally, I think 3 days, the third day in a row here that we haven't got rain, and these are starting to look a lot better now that we can put them on a consistent watering pattern. So therefore, I'm pretty sure that's the reason why our leaves here are turning yellow in the garden. Another one is actually underwatering, as it puts more stress on the full plant. And inconsistent watering is also a reason why that your leaves can turn yellow, because it stresses them out. And inconsistent watering can also lead to a bunch of other things that I'll go over in a future video. Okay, and the final, number 5, the most common reason why your plants will, or your tomato plants are going to turn yellow, is nutrition deficiencies. And a lot of that has to do with the nitrogen content. And you can tell this, if you have a nitrogen problem in your tomato plants, then you can look at the leaves, and at the top here, you can see that it's got really, really pretty green growth. And then down at the bottom on some of the older leaves, they're turning yellow and they're trying to die off. Then you can make that determination that you're probably not getting enough nitrogen to these plants. And a lot of time, when you get some rain and you get that natural rain, you're going to get some natural nitrogen into the ground. But I like to feed these plants every 2.5 to maybe 3 weeks, especially when they start their flowering stage. I like to give them a good balanced shot of liquid fertilizer. Now, when we planted these, we put the slow release fertilizer in, which is great for that long term, but they still need that nitrogen, and they need that phosphorus, and they need some of those other nutrients in order to survive. And they can use that water soluble fertilizer right now. So don't forget to fertilize every 2.5 to 3 weeks with a natural balanced fertilizer, water soluble, somewhere around a 444, 455, something like that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, think about subscribing to the channel. Hit that bell notification, and it'll let you know every time we put a new video out. And leave your comments down on the bottom. Let me know if you have some problems with your leaves turning yellow, and I will try to help and see if I can help you determine what the problem is. Like always, keep her growing.